Chinese consulates may not do it directly. They have their proxies as a wink-wink thing. They have business people arranging for buses and paying stipends, something like $20 or $50 a day, to bus in people either to nomination meetings or to do counter-protesting.
Let's have a look at this interference. And that interview was over a year and a half ago, and it has recently come back about the interference in Canadian elections. And also the funny part here too is that Canadian politicians are going to China to talk about it during the interference inquiry. This is probably Jolie, that girl that is so incompetent that she allowed it. And she didn't read the email, because that's usually what she says. I didn't read the email. I'm not supposed to do that. So we're going to have a look at that. And also Papineau. We're going to hear the premier or the bloc leader, that's him, talking about Wealth One and Trudeau's Papineau riding. And this is the $70,000 that was given to the Trudeau Foundation. And after that, Trudeau made the Wealth One Bank in Canada. I would suspect if they were to follow the money, and maybe some MPs have their mortgage with them, that they sort of gave them a nudge, nudge, wink, wink on that mortgage. But let's have a full listen to these.
You have talked about observations, interference by the regime in Beijing in the electoral process in Canada, specifically federal nominations. I believe in one instance you were talking about busloads of people who had been sent to a nomination as arranged by agents of Beijing operating in Canada. With about a minute, if you could tell us about that.
Standard modus operandi. Chinese consulates may not do it directly. They have their proxies as a wink-wink thing. They have business people arranging for buses and paying stipends, something like $20 or $50 a day, to bus in people either to nomination meetings or to do counter-protesting. And we have seen this in one of the fights at the Toronto District School Board, where they bus in international students from Waterloo, from Guelph, into Toronto to do this kind of thing. And this is something that I've seen firsthand, and this is something that I've been told firsthand by many other writings as well.
The Toronto School Board is busing people in from Waterloo to Toronto. You have to wonder how organized this really is, like embedded in the Toronto government as well, that they are involved with this. And I left this on the screen, 1 million people in 9 months in Canada. With an election and a year and a half away, there will be obviously another million, if not 1.5 million people in Canada. And with the voting so weird, and I heard too, over the age of 14 and non-resident, and then mail-in rebate, and they're changing the electoral system, that, I don't know, it looks like they're trying to fix it again, in my opinion. That's what it looks like. And even October 1st, as the guy was saying too, how the interference, don't you think in downtown Toronto, with all the protests from the Middle East, how organized that was, that there are countries at play infecting Canadian government and pushing this? Because doesn't anyone have a job? Like, how do you do this so organized and get away with it? Let's continue with this, because there is more, and we're going to listen to the bloc leader too. Just flat out call Trudeau and say, well, how much interference is bad or good? Let's have a listen.
And intelligence officials to ensure that the integrity of our elections would not be compromised. They watched and reported in the 2019 election. They watched and reported for the 2021 election, and in both cases confirmed that the integrity of our elections was not compromised.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question was not whether the election was compromised. The question was whether officials in intelligence, law enforcement, or the public service at any time informed the Prime Minister of allegations of any interference in our elections. Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite brought in the element of allegations of interference. I can confirm, based on the news reports that a number of people have been remarking on for the past number of weeks, that I have never gotten any information from any of our security agencies or police officers.
This is 8 years ago, and we have to trust Trudeau because, he looked into it for us because, it's his party that benefited from it. So why would he, why would you look anywhere further? These dates here, July 6th, 7th, 2016, 48 hours, 2 days after Trudeau's approved the Chinese bank Wealth One received $70,000 in donations to the Trudeau Foundation, which is 66% of all donations. So that's a pretty big donation, I'll put it in air quotes, of that happening. And go figure, too, that Wealth One Bank, what they might have done with the MPs if there was some money in a mortgage. I'm just saying that when you do your tax return, how can the MPs not record $250,000? How would they do it? Bitcoin? Is it NFTs? What is it? Maybe they had a mortgage with Wealth One. And I think Chrystia Freeland, I don't know if she had one with them she had her parents co-sign the bank loan for her mortgage at 45 or whatever because she couldn't afford anything because she was living with her parents. I wonder where that money went for someone in that position. But maybe she had the mortgage with them. Who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe she had a mortgage. Anyway, let's keep watching.
For intelligence officials or public servants on any information on anyone receiving, as a federal candidate, receiving money from China, as the allegations highlighted.
Bull Leader of the Opposition.
The question wasn't whether or not he heard allegations of money going to a candidate from China. Obviously, money doesn't travel on a big ship from the other side of the Pacific and then go to the shore and then be delivered to a candidate. That is obviously a denial of an absurdity. The question is whether or not the Prime Minister ever got information from the public service, the police, or intelligence bodies on any interference of any kind by Beijing in our elections.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I got a report back from our panel that was established, the experts established in the national security agencies, to report back on whether or not our elections were subject to foreign interference. And they confirmed that the elections were held in full integrity. The outcome was not impacted. That Canadians can have full confidence in the integrity of our elections in 2019 and 2021.
L'honorable député de Belleuil. Allow me to make better use of my 35 seconds. In 2016, $70 million coming from the Chinese community in Toronto and Montreal were funneled into the riding of Papineau, the Prime Minister's riding, at a time when a Chinese bank was seeking the green light in Canada. Once again, is that influence or interference? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, on November 7th, Global News reported that the Prime Minister had received briefings from CSIS saying that China had funneled money to federal candidates. The Prime Minister said he didn't know anything about it and that he'd heard nothing about it. But since November 7th, since that news broke, did he ask CSIS whether there was any evidence about that type of allegation? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I think that you and all Canadians understand that I have to be very careful in answering questions about national security. Canada and its allies are regularly targeted by foreign states like China, including during election campaigns. This government has taken more steps than any other. We created an independent panel tasked with assessing the risk coming from foreign countries, the risk to our elections, and those panels confirmed that our electoral integrity was not compromised. So yes, I receive regular briefings. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
That's very interesting. He has received briefings The question then is, did he receive those briefings since November 7th, when Global News reported that CSIS had said that the Chinese government had funneled money to nearly a dozen candidates? So the Prime Minister says he knew nothing about money from China to candidates. However, presumably he would have been curious enough to ask when he read about it in the news. Did he?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I think you and all Canadians understand that I need to be deliberate about my answers when it comes to a matter of national security. Canada and our allies are regularly targeted by foreign states like China, including during our elections. Our national security agencies under this government are taking more action than ever, and indeed are among the global leaders on countering global foreign interference in elections. We created an independent panel to evaluate foreign interference threats to Canadian elections that confirms that election integrity was not compromised. I am briefed, but more, all parties are briefed on threats.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question is, has he been briefed since November 7th about whether or not a foreign power funneled money to Canadian federal candidates? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I have said a number of times in this House, to this moment, I have not, in all the briefings I've received, there has never been information around candidates receiving money from China in the 2011 election, in the 2019 election, or in the 2021 elections. We have independent public servants who are engaged to oversee the integrity of the elections. They confirm the elections did complete themselves with full integrity.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Did he ask for briefings on the allegations that were in the November 7th story? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I know the member opposite who sat in a cabinet understands the importance of respecting national security guidelines. On top of that, I know the member opposite understands how important it is to assure the integrity of our elections because he was the Minister for Elections Integrity under that previous government. But under that previous government, while he was making reforms to our Elections Act, he did absolutely nothing on foreign interference. What we did, Mr. Speaker, was bring in a number of mechanisms, a number of new tools to ensure the integrity of our elections.
Leader of the Opposition.
So he wakes up in the morning, he reads a story that says that a foreign government funneled money to Canadian federal candidates, and he can't tell us if he picked up the phone or face-to-face asked his officials if these allegations were true. So we'll move on to a next question. The Prime Minister said yesterday when I asked if there was any electoral interference from a foreign government that there was none that significantly changed the outcome of the election. Was there any interference to his knowledge, yes or no?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Like I just said, Canada and most of our allies are regularly subject to foreign interference from various states, including China, on an ongoing basis and including during our elections. And that is something, Mr. Speaker, that the member opposite would know if he'd paid attention when he was Minister of Elections, but also if he were to ask to his two colleagues who are previous leaders of the Conservative Party from 2019 and 2021, whose teams were briefed before, during, and after those elections on foreign interference.
Right. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister denies that there was Chinese interference. He said in English that there had been very little influence or no significant interference. I wonder at what point does the interference go from insignificant to a lot? The Chinese community in Papineau very quickly after a Chinese bank was authorized in Canada. Is that interference or influence? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, my honourable colleague is raising an important question, and that is, should politicians and partisan accusations determine whether or not there was interference, problematic interference in our democracy and in our elections? And that's why we've put the decision in the hands of our national security agencies and officials. That's why I created a panel precisely to look at these issues in an objective and independent way, in an arm's length manner. And they have reviewed the elections in 2019 and 2021. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Allow me to make better use of my 35 seconds. In 2016, $70 million coming from the Chinese community in Toronto and Montreal were funneled into the riding of Papineau, the Prime Minister's riding, at a time when a Chinese bank was seeking the green light in Canada. Once again, is that influence or interference? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, questions about interference and in our democratic processes and our elections, those are fundamental and very important questions. I understand that the honourable member is trying to challenge the integrity of our institutions, but Canadians can be confident that in the processes that we have set up to ensure the integrity of our elections, to review the integrity of our elections, we can confirm that despite the fact that there is ongoing interference in our country, our democratic institutions and elections were not affected. The honourable member for Burnaby South.